How much time could Victor Robles miss after his ejection last night? We'll discuss that and more coming up here on Mailbag Monday. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, August 18th, 2025. This is Tiny Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. Let's open up the mailbag like we do here every Monday and answer some of your Mariners questions. And we're going to start with the question that a lot of you asked. Ross wants to know, I honestly thought that Victor Robles video was AI at first. That was so bad. Is he done for the year? So quickly before we answer the ultimate question of how long is this suspension going to be, because he is going to get suspended. It's just a matter of how long. But if you have been living under a rock, and really you must have been living under a rock if you missed this, because it's all over the place right now. I think it was on SportsCenter. Jeff Passan tweeted about it. It's everywhere. Victor Robles got suspended, or got ejected rather, from the Rainiers game with the Las Vegas Aviators last night. He got hit by a pitch for the fifth time in this series, the fifth time since he has begun his rehab assignment. Now, this one didn't count as a hit by pitch because he swung, but he was trying to get out of the way of a 90-mile-per-hour-ish fastball flying at his head and just kind of perform the act of swinging as he was trying to get out of the way. But again, it's the fifth time he's been hit by a baseball in just a few days' time. And so he justifiably had a pretty severe reaction. The problem here, though, is that he took it a little too far by throwing his bat towards the mound. Now, we don't know exactly where the bat landed, and it didn't hit Joey Estes, the pitcher. Thank God. But that's obviously something that you just don't do. So he is going to get suspended. Question really, though, is just how long? Because there isn't a really accurate comp for this, especially for a guy that is a major leaguer on a rehab assignment. So to answer your question, I wouldn't be surprised if it was only 2 or 3 games. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was 20. So I don't know. Where do you think that suspension is going to land, Colby? And what did you think of the situation as a whole?
Yeah, obviously it's a really bad situation, and I thought it was a pretty selfish decision on Robles's part to do kind of the only thing, like to do the thing that would hurt his team the most. And by that I mean, of course, the Mariners. I don't really care that much about the Rainiers. Sorry, guys. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you did the one thing that is going to maximize your suspension, and you got nothing out of it. And it's just selfish because, again, you're hurting your team, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your image. And by extension, you're hurting the team's image, although I don't really care about the Mariners team image. They certainly don't. So yeah, it's just one of those things. You have a team that is fighting to, try and win their division for the first time in 24 years. And I mean, maybe not if you watch this weekend, but they're trying to get something done, and they're counting on you to come back and help them. Like, you're a big part of this. You're supposed to be, at least. And then you just do something that puts that into jeopardy. Because why? Because you got hit by a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Like, I get it. I really do. And it sucks. And Victor's had a very frustrating year, both on and off the field. And he mentioned all that in his apology. And I think that's sincere. It reads as sincere. It's something that you don't see a lot in sports apologies. There's very little pointing the fingers. So I accept that, and I acknowledge that Victor knows he did something wrong, and he's going to get punished for it. How much? I don't know. Like you said, it could be 2 games, it could be 10 games, it could be 20. I don't know. There's really not much precedent for this whatsoever. So while understanding the heat of the moment of trying to work your way back and just trying to play ball after the rough year you've had where you haven't gotten to play a lot of ball, and you've had a tough time off the field in your personal life, and you just want to do this, and you just want to play and get back to the guys and be around your pseudo family. Like I totally understand it. You just put that into jeopardy and you got nothing out of it. Nothing.
Yeah.
There's positive that is going to come out of this for Victor or the Mariners. And to me, that makes a selfish decision. Like I understand, like probably wasn't a decision. I don't think Victor ever thought like,
No, it was just a thing that happened.
He just did it. Yeah, I understand that. But again, this is where you have to have a moment of calm, and you have to just have your better angels take over and be like, I can't do this. Like I can't throw the bat. And like you would have been much better off if you just charged the mound.
Yeah.
That would have resulted.
We wouldn't be talking about this nearly as much as we are right now if he had just charged the mound.
No, because we're talking about like a 2-game sussy, and Estes probably gets suspended as well. And
yeah, we would probably just be on here like, hell yeah, Victor.
Yeah, you cannot throw the bat. You crossed the line.
Yeah,
you crossed the line, and it's sad that Victor did that. And again, at least he's acknowledged that he did something wrong. It's sad that so many Mariner fans are trying to defend him in terms of not so much of like, well, Victor's a good person, he lost his head, but like, what else is he supposed to do? He has to do something like that.
Defending the specific act of throwing the bat is very disappointing. I saw that a lot last night, and it's like multiple things can be true, right? Victor was 100%, 110% justified to feel the way that he did after being hit as many times as he's been by the same team, twice now by the same pitcher, 3 times by the same pitcher in general, and 4 matchups against the guy. So like, there is at least something. I don't know if Joey Estes actually hit him on purpose, either, last
Probably
night or the, the time before that, or if any of these hit by pitches have been intentional. I don't know, maybe, but that definitely runs through your mind at the time if you're Victor Robles. So I get it. I totally understand the crash out. The problem is the way in which he chose to retaliate. That's the problem here. It went too far. Again, just if you want to retaliate, go throw hands with the guy. Go rush the mound and throw hands with him. Handle it that way. And again, that's probably going to accomplish basically the same thing. That is possibly going to result in a lesser suspension than whatever he's ultimately going to receive for throwing the bat. Again, it's just like, yes, have these pitchers been flinging deadly weapons at him, 5 times now in this series? Sure. Does that mean that he should also throw one at them? No. I get it's like an eye for an eye thing, but throwing a large piece of wood at someone who has even less protective gear than you is not a good look. I don't know why this is such a controversial take.
It's not. People are dumb. Like, I'm sorry if that's you. You're being stupid if you're trying to defend Victor throwing the bat. Again, there is a way to police these things. That's happened for 100 years in baseball, and very rarely do you see a bat involved, right? It's usually a brawl, and then the pitcher throws at another hitter, hopefully below the shoulders, and you call it even, and you're there, right? And so, it's just one of those things. You just don't do it. It is a cardinal sin in baseball to use your bat like a weapon. You just do not do it. And so, we'll see what the overall suspension is. I don't know, but I'd leave it at this to all the Mariner fans screaming at us in the comments right now. If Yordan Alvarez was on a rehab assignment and he threw his bat at Emerson Hancock because Hancock hit him, would you be singing the same tune? The answer is no. No. You wouldn't. No. And you could sit here and you could type it. Yeah, I would. No, you would not. You absolutely would not.
Well, if they threw at him 5 times, I would understand the comment. No, you wouldn't.
You would be screaming for Yordan to be suspended for the rest of the year.
Fans are hypocrites, and that's just part of the gig.
Yep,
that's just the nature of it. Sure, I totally get that. But let's be serious here about this. Like, if Victor Robles played for any other team, but specifically if he played for like one of your rivals, you'd be pounding the table for him to be put under the jail for this. It's okay to have the nuanced opinion of, hey, Victor is absolutely in the right for feeling the way that he did, but the way he chose to retaliate was wrong. And he could have handled that better. And the Rainiers possibly could have handled that better as well. They could have helped him retaliate instead. So I would just wrap it up on this, that, you know, like what Victor said in his apology last night that he posted on Instagram, you know, he's had a long road to recovery this year. His mother passed away. There's been a lot weighing on him mentally. And so you finally get to the point of being able to return to the field, of getting kind of that distraction that he probably feels he needs from everything that's happened this year. And that starts to be put in jeopardy of being taken away from him again when pitchers continue to hit him with pitches. So I totally understand the frustration. And in that moment, he had a very human moment. He had a very human reaction. And I don't blame Victor for that. I don't think Victor is a bad person. I just think that he made a bad decision in the heat of the moment. And I think that is deserving of criticism. I think that is deserving of some form of punishment. I think that's deserving of a suspension. You know, I hope that it's not too long. And I hope that, you know, the league and whoever, because we don't even really know how this works. I don't know who hands out the suspension. I don't know how it gets applied and all that stuff. Again, this is really like unprecedented for a major leaguer who's on a rehab assignment. If we're missing, you know, an example of this, and maybe you know about that, let us know in the comments below. I would love to hear. But I hope the league does look at the fact that he doesn't have this, you know, he doesn't have a history of doing stuff like this. I hope they also take into account the you know, the fact that he had been hit 5 times by the Aviators, that he had been hit twice by Estes, that there is a history there with Estes. I hope that does get taken into account here as well. And I do hope that there's some form of punishment or something that happens here with the team that hit him 5 times, because that is ridiculous. Whether or not that's intentional, like, that needs to be addressed in some form or fashion. So hopefully, for the reasons that I just laid out, the suspension isn't too severe, and Victor is able to continue his rehab assignment, and he's able to get back to the major league level with the Mariners. But yeah, just not a good situation. Just a really ugly situation all around. And yeah, we'll see what comes of it here in the next couple of days. I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon here. All right, we are going to answer more of your questions in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. This episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. It's the perfect time to lock in your season-long, more or less picks for the 2025 football season, all before week 1 kicks off. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in the game. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, run your game. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. For instant reactions following every Mariners game, be sure to tune in to the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst and Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. Let's get back into your questions here on Mailbag Monday. Ham Swaggerty 69 wants to know, what is Rayleigh not playing signal? I'm confused why he didn't at least get a right field or DH day during the Mets series.
They don't actually know the plan. They don't actually have a plan yet. That's what it signals to me.
Sure.
You're facing 3 lefties against the Phillies.
Yeah, so he's not going to play.
Rayleigh's, so you called him up and you're going to sit him on the bench. You didn't even give him a pinch hitting appearance.
Yeah.
Like nothing. You had 2 righties starting for the Mets. You have 3 lefties in a row for the Phillies. So he's not going to play. Or if he is, he's going to play, in a situation where he's not that well equipped to succeed. So you called him up when you didn't have to. He wasn't running out of time in his rehab assignment. and you're not going to play him, I don't think they have a plan. Because again, like we're talking about, like, oh, you don't want to take Canzone out of the lineup. A, you still should at times. Like you don't want him to play every single day. But B, you could take Jorge Polanco out of the lineup. He just had his first good game in like a week last night.
Yeah.
So there were at-bats. There are ways to give Luke Raley at-bats and Canzone at-bats on the same night, especially when, Polo is running like a 65 WRC plus this month. Like, so I don't think they have a plan, to be honest. I don't think they quite know how to handle this, because it makes zero sense to call up Luke Raley and then sit him for a week. It makes no sense. None.
Yeah.
And you could look at it and be like, well, we didn't know we were going to face 3 lefties in a row for Philly, but it's like, yeah, but you knew you were going to face at least 2. Like, I
thought we did know that, though.
I don't know if we did or not. I couldn't remember but I'm pretty sure they did know that. So it's like, okay, well, you could have kept if you weren't going to play Raley. Like, I get it. Like, you get the lefties up. Okay, well, let's give Raley 2 starts against the righties, and we'll have him DH one, and we'll have him play for Canzone in the other. And then, just bad luck, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, Raley is going to be asked to he'll probably get a pinch hitting appearance late in the game against a high leverage bullpen arm. It'll be his first at bat of the week, and I don't think that'll go that well. And then it'll be like, oh, well, we can't bench, Dominic Canzone, because look at what Raley just did. And it's like, you don't have to bench Canzone every time Luke Raley plays. I mean, heck, they even had a situation where, Naylor was going to DH, and they still didn't put Luke Raley out there.
Yeah.
They had a situation in that Mets game where they cared so much about first base defense that they didn't give Luke Raley an at-bat late in the game. They left Dylan Moore in there to hit. Like, I don't think they have a plan when it comes to Luke Raley. It doesn't seem like they do. They're not operating like they have a plan. And if he, the back tightened up on him or something again, they need to put him on the IL. Like, it just kind of seems like this is the lineup. We're going to have true bench players. We're never going to start these guys ever, unless somebody gets hurt. And that's dumb. That's a good way to run your team into the ground here as we enter this sprint. So honestly, to me, it feels like they don't have a plan with Luke Raley. They're just kind of like, we'll see.
Well, and you can use him.
That's what it signals to me.
You can use him to rotate some of your outfielders, either through the DH or just give them a full day off. There's ways
you could use a day off.
There are plenty of ways that you can get Raley into the lineup with some form of consistency. It's not going to be a ton, but you can get him into the lineup fairly easily. At least
4 games a week.
Yeah, you can get him 3 games pretty easily. So yeah, hearing you talk this out kind of makes me feel like, yeah, they were actually planning on trading either him or Canzone had he not gotten hurt.
I guess, but he did, so you have to adjust. And again, not using Luke Raley, who's a good Major League Baseball player who can run, he can field in the outfield, he can hit righties, he has power off the bench. For you not to use him once in the 3 games he got called up with 2 righties on the mound too, like you couldn't find him an at bat. You couldn't find him 3 innings in the outfield. By the way, he should be playing in right field every single night at the end of the game, because he's significantly better defensively than Dom Canzone. So there's really no reason for him to sit on the bench for all 9 innings every single night. Now, sometimes it's going to happen, but like, hey, it's 11-9 in the 9th inning. We need our best defensive team out there. That's not Dom Canzone in right field. That's not Dylan Moore in right field.
Yeah.
It's Raley in right field. You need to play this guy. He's good. And you're just going to waste him on the bench when you didn't have to. Again, you could have kept him down there for another week. You could have called him up after the Phillies series.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And he would have played every day. It's stupid. It's not one of those like, oh, well, we don't have all the info unless he's hurt, which again, if he was, why'd you call him up? But unless he's hurt, it's stupid.
All right, next question here from Josh. Since y'all did it previously for Josh Naylor, what would a hypothetical Gino Suarez extension look like? This one is a bit more up in the air for me right now, because obviously there aren't going to be a ton of third base options. He has had overall a great year, but he's also been pretty bad since he's come over to Seattle. So does that continue? And if that continues, how much does that hurt his market?
Right. He's also always been a pretty streaky hitter. And he's 34, 35 years old now.
Right. How long is he going to be able to stay at third base? you're not going to be the
Right.
only team that has those questions.
Right. To me, to get like an extension done, I'm not giving him more than 2 guaranteed years.
Mm.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable giving him the second guarantee
Yeah,
because the age thing
and
is
at that point, he's probably
real.
not going to take it.
Right. And the age thing is real. And plus, he's probably still going to get 20, 25 million bucks on this market. So again, without having the knowledge of how invested ownership is going to be in increasing the payroll, which by the way, I would say, Jerry should know that, but how many times have they pulled the rug out from under Jerry and Justin's feet in the last 3 off seasons? 3 times, twice at least that we know of. So it's tough for me if I'm Jerry to even feel good about, broaching this topic because I don't trust John Stanton when he tells me this is the budget for next year or whatever. How do I know that you're not going to come back in November and be like, actually, it's 20% less than that? Because you've done it before, like recently. Yeah. So I don't know how you trust that. So when I look at Geno, I look at a guy and I go, look, I love Geno the person. I know that he's still a pretty good player. He's going through it right now, but I still trust the guy. Overall, he'll have his moments. He'll have his hot streak here at some point. But you're 34, 35 years old. You're probably need to be moving to first base here pretty quick. There's bat speed issues. There's, hey, you're never really hit that well at T-Mobile Park, if we're being honest. It's not like you crushed at that place. You were fine there, but you never really crushed there. You're getting older. How much do I want to pay for the vibes and all that? Like, I don't want to give you 3 years and $70 million, which is kind of what I think it's going to take. I think he's probably looking at that Christian Walker, right around that money, which I think was 3 and 60, if I'm not mistaken, 3 and 66 maybe. It was in that range. But Walker was a pure first baseman. Geno can still play third base, so he's going to make a little bit more. And then there's obviously the inflation. So I think Geno is probably going to look for 3 and 75, maybe even 4 and 100. I'm certainly not giving him 4, and I don't think I would give him 3. So if he wants, like 2 and like, I don't know, 38 with a bunch of incentives that can bump it up to 45 or something like that. And then maybe there's like a vesting option. Like I need outs. I need to protect myself if I'm approaching Geno with an extension. And at that point, he probably doesn't want to take it. So I don't think a Geno extension is going to get done. And if it were up to me, because I think Geno's going to look at it and he's going to be like 3 and 70. Well, probably 3 and 75, 4 and 100. I want 25 million a year. I want 3 or 4 years. And I think the 3 and 70 is where he will settle at. If I'm the Mariners, I don't want to guarantee the 3rd year. That's my objection because, again, the age, the gradual decline anyways, that usually happens. Geno's might not have an on-base percentage above 300 by the end of this year. Like, so if the power doesn't show up and I just have a guy who's going to hit 20 home runs with below average third base defense or average third base defense and a sub 300 on base, I might as well just pay Ben Williamson the league minimum next year and try that rather than give Geno $25 million. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah. It's a very complicated situation. And one that I don't feel great talking about until we get the full picture on his season. All right, we are going to answer more of your questions in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. I'm taking Lamar Jackson to not only win the MVP, but also finally get over the hump in January to take the Ravens all the way. And if you disagree, you can visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. It's Mailbag Monday. Let's get back into your questions. Travis wants to know, what would be your best options to add to the bullpen for the organization? Any that you'd consider over Jackson Kowar, Taylor Saucedo, or Casey Legamina? So in-house, there are a couple of guys that we talked about during our Prospects 30 through 21 episode last week. Charlie Bylinson, who has a really good changeup, and he's actually getting value out of the fastball. Yeah. And Tyler Cleveland, who has, the funky arm angle submariner, gives you a look that you just don't have right now in your bullpen. Right. But those guys don't have a ton of innings above high A.
They're also 25, 26 years old and just now got to Double A.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you really don't have much.
Yeah. So do you trust those guys more than Legamina, Kowar, etc.? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't trust them less, but yeah. I don't trust them more necessarily.
That's not really a question for us to answer. Yeah, that's a question for the Mariners to answer. Like, do you see something there that you guys trust more than Legamina or Kowar? Then sure, I guess. But
yeah. Well, there's the arm that they acquired off of waivers from the Braves, whose name I don't even remember.
Domingo Gonzalez.
There you go. So he's on the 40. So there are some guys on the 40. Troy Taylor, but he has not been good. He's hard to trust right now. I would give some strong consideration to Sarin Lau, who's been in the Rainiers rotation, but he's recently moved out to the bullpen a little bit, and he's just been solid at AAA, and he was solid when you brought him up for his limited time, and he's got a pretty good slider, and he throws strikes for the most part. Like, I'd probably trust that guy over Legamina right now and Kowar, and it's frustrating because Kowar at times Legamina at times looks really good. He'll have really good outings, and then he'll just go out there and he'll give up 5 runs, and you're just like, I don't know which version of him I'm going to get. And Kowar, you can see the stuff. The stuff is pretty good. Yeah. It's just, you can't give up home runs. Like, you just can't do that. So it's not a particularly deep, group of bullpen arms next year when we're probably talking about Lucas Kelly and Casey Hintz. Is it Hintz?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have some other guys who make that next step. We might have more options in Double A, but right now there's not a ton. Michael Hobbs, if you want to go, down the board a little bit, he's having a nice year. He's missing some bats down in Double A. But yeah, there's really not a ton that you're going to go down there and feel significantly better about those guys than you do Legamina or Kowar, because I think if they did, they would already be here. Yeah. So, again, it's almost like the Mariners needed to add a bullpen arm at the deadline. Yeah. Who would have guessed? Except for everybody with eyeballs.
Yeah. Anyways. So Sarin Lau, probably at the top of the list. And then it's Bylinson, it's Hobbs, it's Cleveland. So those guys, if you want to take a shot on them, sure. If they don't want to, I totally get why.
Yeah. Don't blame them.
Last question of the day comes from Jack. Is it time to reshuffle the order around again? If it's not JP and it's not Randy at the top, who leads off this team? Josh Naylor. That would be my pick.
Yeah, I'd agree. Naylor leadoff. I would put Julio up there, but he seems to really hate it. He's talked about not liking hitting leadoff and all that, which maybe on the road you could do it because he doesn't like that he runs in from center field. And he's got to go right to the plate.
Yeah.
So maybe at home or on the road you could do that because he's just leading off the game, and so. But yeah, Julio would probably, and Julio's swinging it right now. He's one of the few guys who's having a good trip, and so is Cal. He had a really good weekend. Unfortunately, they didn't really take advantage of it. So I think if you're going to try and avoid Cal, then I think Naylor should lead off, and I think Cal hitting second. He's had a good weekend series. You can leave him there. Julio hitting third is fine. You could flip those two if you want to. That's totally fine. Randy's still going to have to hit in your top 4, especially while Gino's not producing right now. So Randy's probably hitting leadoff or he's hitting 4th for you. JP, he's too inconsistent for me to trust him hitting leadoff right now. I don't know if you want to put the pressure on Cole Young. I think you kind of just want to leave him where he is and just let him do his thing. He did not have a particularly good weekend either, but whatever. So yeah, you could tweak it. I think essentially but I think the tweak would be you just put Naylor lead off and you put Randy at 4. You just flip those two guys because like you're not moving Polo up in the lineup. He hasn't been good this month. No. So I mean, you could flip Canzone and Polo and have Canzone hit 6. So yeah, I think if you are going to make a change at the top, it's just Naylor leading off, and I don't think you can do that now again in the series against the Phillies because it's 3 lefties.
Yeah.
So really doesn't make a lot of sense to move Naylor out of there and into the leadoff spot at least. And I don't know. Hopefully that we don't see any Dylan Moore, although
Donnie Barrels leadoff.
Maybe against a righty.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.